Johnson, though in arm length, measured from the armpit to the end of the fist, it's Johnson with a 1.5-inch edge. They both weighed in at the legal limit of 115 pounds, and look at that. Johnson put on 10 pounds hydrating overnight. Montiel 11. So they'll enter at 126 and 125. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Fernando Montiel Mark Too Sharp Johnson fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no 3 knockdown rule. The doctor or the referee can stop the fight. In case the cut is caused by an accidental headbutt, we go to the scorecards after 4 rounds have been completed, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
Here's Mark Johnson, along with his father and trainer, Ham Johnson, familiar figure in the sport. Career was briefly interrupted a couple of years ago when he was incarcerated for a year after a probation violation. He says wasn't all that bad a hardship for his career. Nothing much was happening in terms of big fights anyway, because Mark Johnson's big complaint, Larry Merchant, is that at the height of his career, other top fighters in the lower weight classes didn't want to fight him.
Well, that's true, and that's a problem that any American in the lower weight classes has. But here's the story, Jim. Mark Johnson's nephew is Clarence Vincent, the Olympian who is now a professional bantamweight. He is managed by the same manager who manages Montiel, Gary Gittleson. He called Gary Gittleson yesterday and said, "I've been working with my uncle. I'm sorry to tell you, he is going to beat Montiel tonight."
And here's a closer look at Mark Johnson, once again with Larry Merchant.
He's been called too sharp since his days as an outstanding amateur because of his great quickness as well as his combativeness. And he has been too good for most opponents, quality opponents, to take on. Among those who have managed to keep him off their dance list, Johnny Tapia, Michael Carbajal, many others. Too many children. He's got 8 children. A lot of children to support on a flyweight's purses. But he says he wants 2 more, which shows how much of an optimist he is, Jim.
Think big, Mark. Trying to keep up with his dad, Ham Johnson, who has 42 grandchildren and 2 more on the way. Here comes Montiel, and you can see the record: 14 straight wins, 9 KOs. Happy fighter. Sings to himself as he comes to the ring. Mark Johnson said to us, "I've never seen a Mexican fighter like Montiel. He's so much more boxer than brawler. He has an artistic level that you just don't see in Mexican fighters." Perhaps because of that, the Mexican fighter to whom he's most frequently compared is former 106-pound champion Ricardo Finito Lopez. And here's a closer look at Montiel.
And the reason he is so well schooled, his family is just made of fighters. His father trains him. He was a fighter. 3 brothers were fighters. 2 uncles were fighters. 3 cousins were fighters. 2 nephews on the way are fighters. And one of the fighters who Mark Johnson defeated was Montiel's cousin, Alejandro Montiel. At that time, when Fernando Montiel was just starting his career as a 17-year-old, his father said to him, "One day you will have a chance to avenge that result against Too Sharp Johnson."
That's the same father who taught him to dance like Ray Leonard instead of coming forward like Julio Cesar Chavez. Now, with both fighters in the ring, let's go to Michael Buffer for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, DeBella Entertainment is proud to present the main event of the evening: 12 rounds of boxing for the WBO Junior Bantamweight Championship of the World. Brought to you in association with Mohegan Sun, Budweiser, and HBO Sports. Sanctioned by the Mohegan Tribe, Department of Athletic Regulation, managed by Mr. Jerry Boyle. At ringside, the 3 judges scoring this contest will be Joseph Dwyer, Steve Epstein, and Melvina Lathan. And when the bell rings, your referee in charge of the action, Michael Ortega. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the Mohegan Sun Arena, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black trimmed with silver and officially weighing in at 115 pounds. He has an excellent professional record consisting of 41 victories, including 27 knockouts, with only 3 defeats and 2 world titles. From our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., here is the challenger, the former 2-time world champion, Mark Too Sharp Johnson. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing burgundy trimmed with beige and officially weighing 115 pounds also. His professional record is superb. 26 victories without a loss, including 20 knockouts and 1 bout even. Damas y caballeros de los Mochis, Mexico, the undefeated WBO Junior Bantamweight Champion of the World, Fernando Cocholito Montiel.
La cadena. Gentlemen, I want a good clean fight. Caballeros, quiero una pelea limpio. Good luck to both of you. Buena suerte a los dos. Touch close. Coge la mano.
Mark Johnson says that if Montiel is a Sugar Ray Leonard-like fighter, he's going to have to fight like Marvin Hagler. This we got to see.
This has been a very good fight. You know, earlier we were mentioning about Montiel coming from a fighting family. Also, Johnson himself, he comes from a family, I think he was a baby of the original fighters, and all of them in his family fought. He started the boxing when he was about 3 years old.
Mark Johnson's a big fan of the sport and has begun dabbling in expert commentary. He's worked a couple cards out in LA as an expert commentator and does a good job. But Mark's not quite ready to be talking for a living all the time.
Today,
go ahead.
Earlier today in the lobby at the hotel, I ran across his father, Ham Johnson, and Ham said that the 2 losses he lost to Rafael, in addition to Rafael Marquez being a good fighter, was a lot because of the weight. The fact that Marquez was 118-pounder when he fought, and that Mark is more comfortable back at 115 pounds. And in fact, he could have made 112 pounds for this fight, which could mean that he's in excellent condition.
Mark claimed it was the first time he'd ever made the weight the week before the fight.
Well, I think he realizes that his whole career is on the line in this fight, so he's going to fight one of the greatest fights of his life.
And there's a Hagler-like rush as he goes inside and starts going to the Montiel body right away. Mark Johnson living up to his pledge to try to get some pressure on Fernando Montiel.
Well, another way he put it was to say, I may have to be the Mexican in this fight. Meaning that normally he was a flashy boxer, but he is now the aggressor.
Seemingly Montiel is having a lot of problems right now adjusting to Johnson. Johnson seems to be more comfortable as the fight is moving at this stage.
Well, of course, Johnson, in addition to everything else, is a southpaw. Montiel surely has experience in the past against southpaws, but it's always something of an adjustment. And now Johnson showing you that he's loose and warmed up in there.
I don't remember the last time I've seen a fighter wear trunks as short as Montiel's. old-fashioned boxing trunks.
Oscar likes to wear his trunks short like that. Watch Oscar De La Hoya next fight. He likes them short. He likes to dress like the old timers.
Yeah, you're right, Emilio.
Yeah.
I have a short memory, apparently.
With short trunks.
George Foreman wore short trunks the night he knocked out Michael Moore in 1994. Of course, that was because he was wearing the same trunks he had worn in the jungle 20 years before.
Well,
Now Montiel showboating asked Johnson to hit him in the chin.
But that's how Montiel has did this round. He's did nothing effective.
Yeah, well, we know they can both dance.
Yeah.
Let's see them fight.
And after Montiel motioned to his chin, Mark Johnson leaned in, gave him a good body shot.
And Mark is winning the fight, from my opinion, at this stage. He's doing more fighting.
You demonstrated that you're better than he is. Take advantage and box this guy. Use a straight right hand. Come on. Yeah, you were doing okay. Yeah, you listen to me.
Listen to Mark. You only doing shit. You got to work today. Okay. You're faster than me. Hey, Mark. You said your shoulders, Mark. I won't need it. You work your shoulders, you and take that more than one jab. Come on, cut the man off. Come on. You can do this. Come on. Side to side. Mark, the man's scared to death. Okay.
Mark, the man is scared to death. In round one, Montiel 8 out of 27 by CompuBox numbers. Johnson 4 out of 26. Johnson missing on all 14 of his jabs according to CompuBox. 53 total punches thrown by the two fighters, lots of dancing. And even though the CompuBox numbers favored Montiel, most of us at ringside, to our eyes, seemed to feel Johnson was the aggressor in round one.
Yes.
One of the difficulties Montiel may be having is that, unusual for a boxer, he really likes to bang to the body, and he doesn't see that opening here against the southpaw.
No, southpaw, the angle and position of the body makes it very difficult to land effective body punches, particularly the left hook to the body, which is one of the favorite fighters of a lot of the Mexican fighters.
Johnson still short with his jab, but Montiel staying at a distance. And Johnson's perfectly content to look at him from out there.
Suddenly, Too Sharp Johnson, for a moment anyway, turned conventional from his southpaw stance. Nothing happened.
No one has established any dominance yet. But I think after the next round or two, I think both corners are going to probably tell their guys to step it up, because no one has really got any control.
Nobody's done anything yet, and you got two father trainers here. So this will be a test to see which father trainer can help his son solve the puzzle faster.
Yeah, I think it's going to get a little wild and woolly in the next couple of rounds.
Maybe the fathers will fight.
You're locked in his arm and you're hitting him.
Michael Ortega.
Okay? Let it go.
Warning Mark Johnson for holding and hitting.
In two of his last three fights, Johnson was penalized a total of 4 points, 4 holding on most of the occasions, and it probably cost him the first fight against Marquez.
He actually was computed as the winner in the first fight against Marquez in Corpus Christi, October of 2001, and for 90 minutes thought he had won the fight. Then they retotaled the scores and discovered they'd been way off, and that in fact it was Marquez who had won the fight. And Johnson graciously opened his locker room, gave the belt back, said, okay, take it to him.
Gave him a rematch and got knocked out.
That's really been overly gracious.
Big left hook of the fight landed by Montiel, and that seems to relax him just a little bit. August 21 on HBO Latino. Tune in for the next Oscar De La Hoya Presenta Boxeo de Oro featuring Jose Navarro. If you haven't seen him, you ought to watch. Stylish young fighter. September 13 on HBO pay-per-view. Rematch between Oscar De La Hoya and Shane Mosley. And then September 27, a triple header of heavyweights called The Next Generation. Take to the ring in Buffalo on the card. Hometown favorite Joe Macy will fight DeBarrel Touch of Sleep Williamson.
Good fight.
Called Touch of Sleep because his big right hand has induced sleep for some of his opponents.
Most of his opponents. Almost all of his opponents.
Wait for the right time. Use the right timing.
I think both guys realize that they're not going to win this fight by outspeeding each other because the speed is so close that they're going to have to sit down and start fighting.
Not much of an offensive fight so far. Johnson's only thrown 66 punches in 2 rounds. Montiel's only thrown 48, averaging only 24 punches per round. Montiel seems thoroughly thrown off by the southpaw stance of Mark Johnson.
And the speed. He's probably not used to this type of speed. In addition to the southpaw position.
Right hand lands inside for Johnson. At this point, you look for anything that scores. Montiel's not going to win many fans fighting this way.
Well, and if he may not win a fight fighting this way neither. Mark seems to be very comfortable right now as the fight is progressing. I seem to see a little uncomfortable look on Montiel's face.
Montiel wants to get in range, but he needs Johnson to come closer to do it. That means Mark controls the tempo of the fight. Montiel reaching to get a left to the body. Now the left hook lands as Johnson leans in. Three fights ago, Montiel won his version of the 115-pound World Championship with a 6th-round TKO of a fighter named Pedro Alcazar in Las Vegas. Alcazar from Panama died a day and a half later in an incident so freaky that medical examiners still aren't exactly certain what it was that could have prompted Alcazar's death, given that ring death normally doesn't occur in a delayed fashion, and Alcazar was fine after the fight, was fine on the Sunday following the fight, then suffered brain swelling on Monday. Montiel does not seem to have been adversely affected by Alcazar's death, as some fighters are when they face the specter of ring death for an opponent.
Yes, he seems to have recuperated from it. It hasn't bothered him at all.
Well, he said it did bother him for a good long while, but he's certainly not the only outstanding fighter who has had that mark on his record.
He seems to be boxing much better now. He seems to be getting more comfortable with the style.
Yeah, but he better start winning some rounds soon.
Not much is happening in the fight, but of those things that are happening, more good ones happening to Mark Johnson so far than to Fernando Montiel.
Just start throwing your jabs, jabs, jabs. And we're going to start putting more pressure on now, okay? He moved back on you. The only thing you needed was to put your right hand in there. You almost get him.
They say that speed kills in boxing. Right now, it's killing us.
Too much speed.
Only 54 punches thrown in round 3. Either fighter ought to be able to get off 54 in a decent round. They combined for 54 in that round. They combined for 11 connects. In other words, no offense. So how do you score it, Harold?
Okay, Jim, 30-27. 3 rounds to nothing. Mark Too Sharp Johnson. Jim, I gotta say something. I don't think it's the southpaw style that's bothering Montiel. Jim,
Step back.
when he was the champion a few years ago, I seen him hit guys so hard that he'd put him out for 10 minutes. It's the power that's bothering Montiel. Johnson winning on those real hard shots to the body that are really hurting Montiel.
Well, I don't see him hurting Montiel, but I do see Montiel perhaps showing too much respect for a great old champion.
I'll tell you what, so far Mark looks very good here tonight. His most effective punch has been the straight left hand to the body. But he's putting a lot of pressure on and seemingly setting the tempo the way he wants it now.
Montiel gets in a right hand.
The referee, Mike Ortega, is the son of the great welterweight of the 50s, Gaspar Ortega.
A lot of head movement, so much head movement that neither guy thinks he can hit the other guy.
That's why I started talking about the referee. It's starting to action going on.
Maybe we can roll some Gaspar Ortega highlights. I don't mind seeing some of Gaspar right now.
He was a very good action fighter, fought everybody in the 50s.
5 seconds,
Action
Gaspar
fighter.
would be better than this. Now Montiel finally begins to release his jab, and Johnson gets in another one of those hard shots to the body that Harold Letterman was talking about.
I think eventually Johnson's going to try that right hand on the side of the right hook is what he's going to try to land after that sooner or later.
Johnson with a hard left hand shot up the middle.
On the chin that time. He's mixing it up. He's shooting it to the body, then he shot it on the chin.
Step back, step,
Mark
step,
Johnson
step, step.
starting to get more aggressive. Certainly Montiel hadn't threatened him much in the first 4 rounds. There's no reason for Johnson to be holding back off what we've seen so far. Johnson able to get in a few left-hand shots there as his right hand engaged Montiel's right. Hard right hand shot to the body by Mark Johnson. This is another round in which Fernando Montiel has done all but nothing after having come in as the betting favorite in the fight.
Mark, hey Mark, check this. You're winning by 1 punch. If you're winning, you're winning by 1 punch because all you're throwing is singles. You got to walk the boy down, cut him off, hit the man with 3s and 4s. You're not doing it. The boy's scared to death. All you got to do is throw 200 that second bait. Go brick to the body and brick to the hood. Now, let me tell you what you're not doing. You're cutting the man off, but you ain't doing nothing with it, son.
You got to get loose. You got to get loose. You got to throw more punches. You got to be careful, but you got to throw more punches, okay? You keep throwing those combinations. We're going to the 5th round. And be aggressive. You got to be more aggressive.
Are they sending him a mixed message, Emmanuel? Be careful, but throw more punches? Or is that the right advice? I was just saying, Emmanuel, is that the right advice? Be careful, but throw more punches, or do they neutralize each other?
I think that's a good. After what he went through with Marquez, he knows what can happen in 1 punch when he got knocked out in a good fight. So he's probably got to still be a little careful because Montiel is a decent puncher still, but he's got to put more pressure on him and take some risk.
Well, both trainers asked their fighters to do more offensively, and it's Mark Johnson who seems to have listened to his dad as he begins to attack more aggressively. You heard Ham Johnson saying you got to walk the man down and throw 3 and 4 punch combinations. Throwing 1 punch at a time isn't going to get it done, although frankly, throwing 1 punch at a time has won 4 rounds for Mark Johnson, or so it would appear.
I didn't hear what was said in other corners, so they both may have been saying the same thing.
Montiel has thrown under 100 punches by CompuBox calculation in the first 4 rounds. He goes down on a perfect right hook. And that's exactly what you said he was going to do, Emmanuel.
Yeah. Setting him up for the right hook.
Hey, come here, walk to me. Está bien, está bien. Okay. Vámonos.
There are 3 ugly red welts on Montiel's body from Mark Johnson's hard-thrown right hands. And now with a right hook, Johnson has decked Montiel. And Montiel suddenly seems to realize that he's going to have to fight if he's going to get out of Connecticut with something other than an embarrassing loss.
I said earlier the fight was going to sort of get a little crazy around the 4th, 5th round because I could see that both guys are going to get frustrated with not having any control.
Mark Johnson has decided to step up and make the fight. At some point, Fernando Montiel is going to have to throw caution to the wind and go with Johnson, or he's just going to get erased here.
Break. Yeah, I got it. Mira, súbelo. Okay, súbelo. You all right?
So far missing from the Montiel arsenal, except for an occasional burst here and there, the straight right hand, which is usually the bread and butter of conventional fighters against a southpaw.
Whenever you're fighting a southpaw, normally your best shot is the straight right hand. But I've noticed outside of the one he just landed there earlier, he hasn't even shot that. For the most part, he's letting Johnson dictate the pace, and he's really trying to anticipate what Johnson is going to do instead of taking the lead himself.
I'm remembering the look of surprise in Oscar De La Hoya's face when he discovered that he just couldn't land his left hook against Pernell Whitaker. Montiel's experiencing a little bit of the same thing here tonight.
Yes, he is. He's very, very good at this stage. A little confused, a little uncomfortable about the pattern of the fight.
This was perceived as a crossroads fight for Johnson and a defining fight for Montiel. And so far, the crossroads is beating the definition.
Yep. If you notice, Johnson is coming in. He's coming in with the body motion as if he's going to throw a straight left to the body, which he's been throwing all night. But instead, he shot the right hand on the chin.
You have to hit him in the chin. You have to go for the chin now and go inside. How are you feeling? Are you feeling okay?
Hey, cut the man and shoot him out there. Take your time. You can do this. We need it. Come on, let's go. Put your hands up.
Now we'll find out what Montiel is made of.
Simple mathematics. He's fought 5 rounds. He's 6 points behind. 7 rounds to go, 6 points down on the cards. Montiel either has to win every round the rest of the way or find a way to hurt Mark Johnson.
He's going to have to shoot that right hand with a lot of power.
He's certainly going to have to stop waiting to land a left hook, because he may not land a left hook in this fight.
Well, you know, particularly with the southpaw position that Johnson is attacking him from.
One punch at a time for Montiel. Johnson easily able to counter. Montiel misses wildly with the right. Johnson digs to the body with the right. Fernando Montiel only threw 31 punches in the last round, and he isn't mounting any real activity here. Johnson now beginning to paint him with body shots.
Maybe he's trying to set him up for another head punch by punching to the body on a continuous basis and then going right to the chin again. Montiel is going to have to start punching with power punches now.
He's going to have to start punching, period.
Yes.
He's going to have to let his hands go. He's doing nothing in there.
It's almost entirely one punch at a time by both fighters.
Well, or one punch at a time by Johnson and no punches at a time by Montiel.
It's going to be a dance contest now.
Don't hold behind the head.
Candy from a baby for Mark Johnson. He doesn't have to do much to win these rounds. There, Montiel finally manages to crack him with a little left.
Johnson looks big at this weight. Whereas when he fought Marquez, it was Marquez who looked big against him.
That's what he attributed a lot to the loss to, is that they really could feel the power from Marquez compared to fighting 112 and 115 pound guys. In addition to Marquez being a good fighter and a tremendous puncher.
Montiel digs a right hand to the body. As Mark Johnson momentarily laid in there and allowed himself to get hit. Johnson comes back with a body shot of his own. They trade in the center of the ring and they punch each other after the bell in the most energetic moment of the fight.
That's it. That's what I wanted to see right there.
Montiel may not be as big or punch as hard as Marquez, but he's going to have to let some power shots go regardless. Otherwise, he's going to lose the fight.
He's going to have to find a way to land double figures in a round. So far, he's landed single figures in every round of the fight. This is a nothing performance by Fernando Montiel.
You all right? Come on.
Johnson isn't doing all that much better, but it's enough for him to easily control the fight.
You're winning the fight. Now you begin to pick it up. What round is this?
Jab him to death.
Here is a little bit of energy in this fight. Combat. Two guys going at each other instead of away from each other.
Montiel's eyes beginning to swell on both sides. A mouse under the right eye, an abrasion over the left eye. Harold, how do you have it through 6?
Okay, Jim. 5 rounds to 1, 59-54. Mark Too Sharp Johnson. Jim, you got to give him an extra point for the knockdown in round 5. In round 6, Fernando Montiel at least got some offense going. I thought he'd maybe eat that round. They gave him the 6th round hesitantly, but in any case, 5-1, Mark Johnson. But I still maintain he hurts you when he hits you, and that's the secret of Mark Johnson.
So far, you'd have to say that Mark Johnson is the master of the Montiels, having beaten Fernando's cousin 7 years ago.
And now easily controlling Fernando. But is there a small drop of blood on the bridge of Mark Johnson's nose? Is there an abrasion on Johnson's nose which could ultimately lead to something? Can't tell for certain from here.
I don't think if it is, it won't nothing see. Usually fights doesn't stop from cuts on the bridge of the nose.
Break, step back, step back. Get over there. It's the second time you're holding and hitting, okay? Let's go.
Second warning of Johnson for holding and hitting.
It's interesting looking at Montiel's body. It's one of the few times I ever saw red bruise marks from the straight left hands he's been getting hit with in his body.
Now Johnson turns conventional for a moment. Maybe looking to land a right hand. And he lands it twice, even after turning back to the southpaw stance. And yeah, there is a little blood on Johnson's, right on the bridge of his nose, but it's not going to bother him. The same abrasion is on the bridge of Montiel's nose, between the two swelling eyes.
Step back, come up. Good job. Thank you.
Montiel reaching to try to get a left hand in, and Johnson whacked him with a counter right.
Johnson is outspeeding him at this stage, too, which is something that Montiel is not used to, because he's always been the speedy fighter. But the first time he's fighting a guy who's older, but still a little bit more craftier and speedier than he is.
Looser, more relaxed,
yes.
More in command of the
More
evening,
command.
the event.
And comfortable.
Hey, don't push him.
Fighting Mark Johnson's fight, and Fernando Montiel has found nothing to do about it.
what's going on. You have to start. Got to start throwing punches. Well, you got to start.
In the near corner, or near to you, Mickey Ward with his fiancée, Charlene Williams, and Arturo Gatti with his fiancée right next to him. This arena was the site of the first Mickey Ward-Arturo Gatti fight, their trilogy, 30 rounds of intense face-to-face combat, now a part of boxing history. And next to Gatti's fiancée, that's Derek Smoke Gaynor over there, who was scheduled to have appeared against Juan Manuel Marquez in the main event here tonight, but fell out of the fight with a torn pectoral muscle.
And he doesn't have anybody to kiss, neither.
Nope, that's right. No fiancé, nobody to hang on to and hug during the fights.
Well, Ward had a retirement party here last night, which is why both he and Gatti were here. I wonder what they think of this dance.
Well, they're thinking that they landed more punches in one round than these guys are going to land in the whole fight.
They made up for this year, so
maybe that's what they were laughing about.
They decided to spend their time kissing rather than watching the fight.
Montiel wanted this fight against Johnson to define himself. Be careful what you wish for.
Was he rushed?
No, he's 24 years old. He's had enough fights, 27 fights. He should be in his prime. Fighting a 32-year-old ex-champion. 32 is old for fighters in these lower weight classes. But as we suggested at the opening of the fight, you know, sometimes great old champions have one big fight left in them. And so far, Johnson has shown that.
You know, what we just saw in these exchanges is maybe the biggest problem with Montiel is the fact that he just isn't punching enough. As Jim said earlier, because when he does punch, they're pretty much tit for tat in the exchanges. But he's not punching enough.
Just not letting his hands go, just not doing enough. Montiel was thinking about big fights up the weight scale, maybe all the way up into the featherweight division. Johnson told us he's still looking for big fights, but he's going to be looking down the scale. If Johnson wins this fight, Emmanuel, he's going to call out American 112-pound champion Eric Morrell. That would be a great All-American unification fight.
Great fight, especially when you consider two Americans fighting for a 112-pound championship.
But there is a rematch clause, so Montiel can get a rematch. I don't know if they have to wait a fight before they do that, and I don't know who would want to see this fight again.
Paper watch.
And as a rule, usually you can have one fight. They usually insist on one match in between before you have the immediate rematches.
Well, but certainly Mark Johnson isn't going to be fighting Eric Morrell between fights with Fernando Montiel.
Why not? At 32, he doesn't have time to waste.
Maybe he will.
No, see, Montiel is having a good round this round simply because he's throwing punches this round.
The best round he's had. He's finally letting his hands go and trying to become the aggressor, which he needed to do 7 rounds ago.
I think he was just not comfortable earlier in the fight. And now that he's getting a little bit more comfortable in the fight and probably desperate, he's fighting a better fight.
And for the first time in a long time, Johnson backs up. And Montiel steps in and whacks him with a right to the body. Johnson misses upstairs. Montiel gets in a little counter. Best round of the fight for Fernando Montiel.
The difference in the two fighters is that Johnson is more versatile. He can box, and he's willing to bang.
If Montiel would come out and set that same tempo for the next 2 rounds, he still could possibly pull this fight out, maybe win by knockout.
Don't throw just one punch. You got to throw more combinations. This is your championship. This is yours. You can't lose this. Come on, you got to throw punches. He's got nothing less. Let's go. We got to go.
Kick the hands up. You let this guy score back.
You got to. And don't make no mistakes, Mark. I'm not riding on this. Stop thinking about tomorrow, what you can do tonight, Mark. Come on, man.
Let's get this job up. Come on. Boxers, man. Cut off. Cut him.
What you're hearing now from Too Sharp Johnson's corner apparently is they believe that they're winning the fight easily, and now they're telling Johnson to box instead of to move ahead and punch.
Power punches in round 8 by CompuBox numbers. Montiel 8 out of 26. Johnson only 2 out of 12. That's why it was Montiel's best round of the fight. Threw twice as many power punches as Johnson. Needs to keep doing that.
I think that Johnson's going to have to be very careful as the fight goes on. But I don't think he can just totally try to box instead of Wiggles. He's in a mood tonight where I don't think he could just outbox this guy. But he's got to start getting more control because Montiel is getting more confident now.
Montiel's accustomed to being a precision puncher. He's got to forget about precision here. Just let his hands go and try to throw a lot of punches.
He's got a lot of hard punches. You got to punch him, not trying to go for a decision. He needs to try to score at least a knockdown or two to pull the point gap up, or even score a knockout. He's got to punch with power punches.
We're trying to pinpoint the target. Just get some leather out there. Here's a good shot by Montiel. Counter right landed perfectly. Trying to follow up. Johnson clocks Montiel and drives him into the ropes, and then Montiel comes back with a combination. Suddenly a fight is breaking out at the Mohegan Sun.
You punched him behind the head.
And now this is going to be the punch behind the head.
Here. Time. All right.
He's warned him twice for holding and hitting. Let's see if he'll deduct for the punch behind the head.
Está bien. Okay. You punch him in the back of the head, he's going down. Okay. You can't punch behind the head. All right. Be careful.
No deduction.
Well, I'm glad they didn't take a deduction because that was all in the heat of an exchange, I think.
Wipe your gloves.
And when you're punching a lot of time, you can't tell whether the guy's down or just bending over lower, bobbing and weaving.
I think Mike Ortega's done a nice job in this fight.
Yeah, he could have deducted a point, which I'm glad he did.
I think it was a good choice. I totally agree. Every second that goes by now, a benefit to Johnson, an obstacle to Montiel.
And he's trying to box there. You notice he's doing a jab to the head, something he hasn't been doing too much earlier, and trying to keep a little distance now. See? And he may have felt Montiel's power too somewhere in the last round.
Step back clean. Step back.
3 rounds to go. It's still mostly one punch at a time.
Yep. Johnson is boxing safe now.
Mark, you gotta work the body speed. Got that? Look. You gotta go back to the body 2 or 3 seconds. You gotta go back to the body. Look, you cut your man off. You're cutting your man off. You're cutting your man off, man. But you ain't shooting but one punch. Man, you need 2 and 3 jabs, man. One ain't gonna get you there. And when a man charge you, you're all set, but you ain't doing it with it. Keep them finished.
We got to knock this guy out. We got to knock him out. You're strong. You're stronger than he is, but we got to knock him out. This is your fight. Just fight for yourself. We got to fight. You got to beat this guy and knock him out. Be alive. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Montiel's corner is giving him the right advice, and they're not waiting until the last round to do it. They're letting him know right now he's lost this fight unless he does something dramatic.
9 minutes for Fernando Montiel to seek a knockout. Harold Letterman, how do you have it scored through 9?
Look at Jim, 87-83, 6 rounds to 3. Mark Too Sharp Johnson. Jim, without question, Mark Johnson did hit him with a rabbit punch as Montiel was going down in the last round. But I'll be darned if I know why Montiel was going down. It just seemed like he was turning away. But be as it may, Montiel, I thought, pulled out the last 2 rounds by getting a little bit busier. But I still say he's pretty far behind.
Punches in front. Keep him in front.
Flurry of body shots by Mark Johnson there, doubling up with the right hook. Johnson with a little burst of energy, trying to reassume command of the fight.
Yeah, where Montiel was coming out to be aggressive, I think, and Johnson jumped on him and attacked him when he wasn't expecting. Had moved Montiel back on the defensive mode again.
Well, that's Ham Johnson between rounds telling his son, you got to go back to the body. Quit boxing him and go back inside and hit him.
And it worked.
Tactically, Johnson has been a step ahead of Montiel through most of the fight, and Montiel still doesn't seem to feel as though he solved the puzzle in any way. Still waiting and waiting and waiting. Needs to be throwing punches and bunches. Good connect by Montiel as he landed a left and a right.
Step back, step back, step back. Okay, you're lunging in with your head. Be careful.
Montiel steals a look at his father in the corner.
A right hand inside caught Johnson very well.
Good short right hand inside.
Backhand.
But it didn't hurt him.
I'm not sure about that, Jim. Didn't hurt him badly, but it hurt him enough that he's now staying away.
Well, he should throw more of those power punches because he has everything to lose and not too much to get in the, you know, in this situation here, because he's definitely going to lose a fight unless he keeps throwing those power shots.
He being Montiel.
Yeah, Montiel.
Good left jab by Montiel. Digging the right hand to the body.
He's landed some pretty good solid punches his last few rounds.
Time. Let me know when you're ready.
And now Johnson gets a chance to rest after Ortega rules that Montiel hit him below the belt.
All right. I told him already that's the second time. Don't retaliate. Ready?
Ortega warning Johnson against any low blow retaliation. Hard right hand by Montiel. That stunned Johnson. And the second right hand caught him as well. And a third straight right before the end of the round.
That was a good round for Montiel.
And now Montiel almost walks Johnson all the way back to his corner, apologizing for the low blows after he landed 3 of his best straight right hands of the whole fight.
Montiel may have won the last 3 rounds.
You got to keep putting. You got to put pressure. Use that right hand. You got to put more pressure on this guy. Come on, breathe in. Come on. You got to keep throwing punches. Get punched hard, hard, hard. Don't leave anything behind. Don't put anything away. Let everything go. Let everything go now.
Here are some of the things that have happened in this fight that have drawn the ire of the referee, holding, other penalties, but no penalized as yet. Part of this has to do with the awkwardness of a southpaw and a conventional fighter.
I'd say most of it has to do with the awkwardness of a southpaw against a conventional fighter.
You're probably right, Jim.
I don't think there's any real motivation for either guy to foul here. They've just gotten hung up with each other from time to time.
It appears that Montiel is definitely coming on, but can he come on with enough? Remember, there's a 2-point round mixed in that could be telling.
Providing that Montiel doesn't score a knockout, he's going to have to at least try to score at least a couple of knockdowns in order to pull a decision out.
Well, instructively, I think if he wins every round the rest of the way, including these next 2 rounds, 10-9, that he winds up 1 point short on Harold Letterman's scorecard because of the 2 points that were scored for the knockdown.
And that's why right now the referee is very crucial in this fight, because if he takes a point from anybody, it can be crucial the way this fight is moving.
Sí, ya lo dije, 2 veces. ¿Está listo? Time in. Second time, Mark, let's go.
The fight is getting closer and closer on the scorecard, except for those knockdowns.
And now both fighters are 1 foul away from a point deduction for Johnson. Either holding or hitting or a low blow would get him a point deduction. For Montiel, a low blow would certainly do it. Seemed to take Montiel 7 rounds to figure out that the straight right hand was the way to score.
Straight right hand.
There's a good left hook to the body by Montiel, and another one, his 2 best body hooks in the whole fight.
Yes, most of the last 2 rounds he's coming on, he's winning those rounds.
He's finally getting his left hand to work because he's finally setting it up with a straight right. There's another straight right that lands flush on Mark Johnson's face.
He's fighting and not dancing.
This is a big round for Montiel. Johnson digging to the body again, trying to take some of the steam out of Montiel.
But at this stage,
Montiel landing a right and a left and another left.
It looks like another good round for Montiel.
Johnson feeling the need to fight his way back into things as Montiel wins the 11th. And now they're going to walk each other around the ring again as the two seem to be becoming very close friends in there.
I want everything out of you now.
What up with that?
I want everything.
Well, we saw that with
got
Nicky
it die
Ward and
here.
Getty.
We're gonna die here. That's it. This is it. Everything you have. Come on, let's go. Throw. Get that courage out.
Trying to steal. Come on. They trying to steal with that low blow.
We need this, y'all.
You gotta have this. You want to bring it home? This is the round.
Body shot.
Body shot, yeah, 2 and 3. You're breaking them, get your rhythm.
Come on, baby.
Everything you
We need
Let's
this,
go.
man.
I want blood. I want blood. This is do or die. I want to see blood on the floor. I want do or die. This is it. This is it. Go for it.
Sounds like we're going to have an exciting 12th round.
Well, the corners are certainly excited, and I think that Too Sharp Johnson's corner is trying to whip home a great old
touch him up.
tired horse.
Hold him around. Mark, let's go.
Power shots in round 11. Montiel 19 out of 49. Johnson 10 out of 22. Fight has tightened up. And now we wonder if some of those early rounds on the scorecards might have slipped to Montiel here and there, which would give him a chance to be in the fight coming to this last round.
Yep.
Harold, how do you have it coming to the 12th?
Okay, Jim, I see it as a very close fight. 6 rounds to 5, 105-103, Mark Too Sharp Johnson. He's got that extra point for the knockdown in round 5. But I tell you, in round 8, Fernando Montiel just stopped fighting scared. He started moving forward, landed good shots. Conditions been the difference in the last 4 rounds. Certainly, I think Fernando Montiel pulled out the last 4. So 6-5, Johnson.
But a 2-point margin, not a 1-point margin because of the knockdown in the 5th. That could wind up being the critical moment of the fight. This is a slip.
No knockdown. Stay right there. No knockdown. Hey, vámonos.
How many times have you heard a father say to his son, I want to see blood on the floor?
Montiel needs a knockdown very much.
Hard left hook by Montiel. Johnson comes back with a right hook of his own. Montiel finally letting his hands fly freely and hurting Mark Johnson in the center of the ring.
Step back.
Johnson coming back with aggression. Great body shot by Mark Johnson. A left right to the solar plexus. Momentarily slows Montiel down.
Step.
That hard left-hand body shot that Johnson threw may be just enough to stem the tide. Johnson lands upstairs as Montiel lands to the body.
Yeah. Instead of throwing the left hand to the body, now he's wiggling right on top.
And Johnson lands again with the left-hand counter. A 12th round rally by Mark Johnson may be just what he needs to seal the deal.
You have the insurance. Referees did a great job in this fight.
Crowd finally warms to it.
Another leg. The left hand on the chin has been a big factor right now for Mark.
Best action of the fight here in the 12th round.
Yeah.
Montiel wobbles Johnson with a left hook.
They should have started this in the 7th round.
I thought Johnson won very narrowly. The decision could go the other way.
I think anything's possible. But to my eyes, Johnson won the first 7 rounds. That would make everything a moot point beyond that.
I agree with the scorecard of Harold Letterman on this show. I think it's a very good scorecard, about 115, 112.
So Letterman gives the last round to Mark Johnson, sealing the deal. Mark Johnson leans across the ropes to us and says the old man prevails again. He likes himself as an old fighter now, 32. Power shots in the 12th round by CompuBox calculation. Montiel 18 out of 52, Johnson 10 out of 31. Johnson's were strategically placed. And there was a moment when Montiel was really coming on and Johnson landed a hard body shot with the left hand that backed Montiel off.
Yeah, Johnson fought a real good fight.
Tactical fight.
Yeah, and Montiel is a good young fighter. I think if he'll grow from this fight.
You saw the wild left upstairs by Johnson.
That was probably the most clearly landed punch in the last round. He landed, I think, about 3 of those.
Judges for the fight: Joe Dwyer, Floral Park, New York. Used to be the IBF rankings boss. Steve Epstein, Cromwell, Connecticut. Was one of the judges in the Tarver Griffin fight. Montel Griffin bitterly disputed the scores in that fight. And Melvina Lathan, Ardsley, New York. You've seen her many times. Had Vernon Forrest with an easy win over Shane Mosley. Not too difficult to call. Michael Buffer has the numbers. Let's hear him.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of boxing, we go to the scorecards. Joseph Dwyer scores the bout 114 to 114. He has it even. Melvina Lathan scores it 115 to 112. And Steve Epstein scores it 117 to 110 for the winner by majority decision. And new WBO Junior Bantamweight Champion of the world, now a 3-time world champion, Mark Too Sharp Johnson.
So just as Mark Johnson said to us when he leaned over the ropes to our announce position, the old man prevails again. Johnson with a narrow margin in landed punches total. He threw 41 more punches than did Montiel. They both landed at a 26% connect rate. Montiel just got started too late in the fight. Didn't really mount his offense until the 8th round. Power punches. Montiel wound up with an edge in power shots as he fought in a frenzy in the last 4 rounds, trying to rally to win the fight. Wound up throwing nearly 100 more power punches than did Johnson. But by that point, Mark Johnson was trying to coast on the lead and tactically maintain it the rest of the way. And he winds up with the majority decision. Let's go to Larry Merchant with the winner.
Thank you, Jim. Congratulations, Mark. How did the old man do it?
Well, I'd like to thank the Almighty, you know, Anna Joe Henry Church, Reverend Staples for keeping me in prayer. I was ready to go, Larry. I was not going to be denied. It wasn't about the title for me. I told you that. It was about history. I'm the first African-American in history to win the flyweight and super flyweight world title twice. I told people when I lost to Marquez at 118, I was out my weight class. He was too big. I want to unify the titles. I want Luis Perez now.
Did you bite down harder, though, in training than you've been used to doing for a long time?
Yes, I have. I brought in Anthony Wilson, my new mate guy. I brought in Lonnie, a nutritionist. So like I told you, I made 115.
You told us the nutritionist was your enemy.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what kept me going, you know. But I want to thank all the guys down the way in the alley, in the cut.
Why and how were you able to do what you did tonight?
Well, I knew Fernando was a good boxer, but he always had problems with southpaws, and he had problems with people that put pressure on him. So as long as I let him take control of the fight, he would. So what I try to do is take control of the fight early, and then as it got to going on, just play with him with the jab and make sure he come in. But for him to be that small, he caught me once or twice, and he cracked.
He has a rematch clause. You have a rematch clause. Are you willing, and will you give him a rematch if anybody wants to put this rematch on?
Most definitely. You know, like I say, it's about the money with me. It's not about the titles.
Is the rematch clause enable you to fight a fight between another fight with him?
Yeah, well, it enables me to fight another fight between it.
Would you like to fight Eric Morrell?
I would love to fight Eric Morrell, and like I say, I'm talking to DeBella Entertainment. I'm looking forward to doing things with those guys and moving forward. And I want to thank Lou and the guy for giving me a shot.
Thank you for giving us another example.
I'm bringing it home, y'all. I told
the old Mark Johnson.
Yes.
Jim?
All right, thank you, Larry. So you heard.
Very wise choice. He's done right very well. But the guy that I love is